During Thanksgiving, my sister stands up and announces that she is grateful for being pregnant with my. I met Daniel when I was fresh out of college. He was 5 years older with a stable career and an effortless charm that drew everyone in. When we first started dating, it felt like I had hit the jackpot. Daniel wasn't just my boyfriend, he was my best friend. We laughed endlessly, dreamed about our future and leaned on each other through life's ups and downs. After 3 years of dating, he proposed to me in the most thoughtful way of recreating our first date. I said yes without hesitation, believing that this was the beginning of a forever kind of love. We married in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by friends and family. It was a day filled with promises, joy and the kind of optimism that blinds you to the storms ahead. Daniel and I always talked about having a big family from the very beginning of our relationship. We dreamed about raising kids together, filling a home with laughter and love. But after years of trying and multiple doctor visits, I received the crushing news I couldn't have children. I felt like a failure. The grief was overwhelming, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was robbing Daniel of the family we had dreamed of. When I told him I expected disappointment and divorce, but instead he hugged me tightly and said, "We'll get through this together. I don't love you because you can have kids. I love you because you're you." His words gave me hope, and I held on to them as we discussed adoption and other ways to build a family. Now my younger sister Emily was always the perfect child in our family. Emily was everything I wasn't. Beautiful, charismatic, intelligent, ambitious, and wildly successful, she was the daughter my parents bragged about to their friends, the one who could light up any room. Well, honestly, I couldn't blame them. She was so good in everything she did. As adults, Emily became a force to be reckoned with. She started her own business and quickly turned it into a success story. She had a sprawling house, luxury vacations, and a seemingly perfect life. Apart from personal one, she never shared about her love life and never introduced us to her boyfriends. My parents adored Emily. Every phone call, every visit, every conversation revolved around Emily. I'd always been a little envious of her, but I loved her deeply. She was my sister, and despite our differences, I always believed we had an unshakable bond. Daniel and Emily were similar in ways I wasn't. Both of them were ambitious, business-minded, and endlessly charming, while I worked a stable but unglamorous job in healthcare. They bonded over market strategies, profit margins, and entrepreneurial ideas. At first, I didn't think much of it. Was Emily's family after all, and I trusted Daniel completely. With family gatherings became uncomfortable for me. I'd find them huddled in a corner, deep in conversation about business plans or swapping ideas. I'd sit on the sidelines, feeling invisible. I told myself I was overthinking things. They were just talking. Right, it wasn't like they were doing anything wrong. Also, at the end of the day, I was the one he chose to marry, but the more time they spent together, the more I felt like something was off. Emily started visiting our home more often. She'd bring over coffee, saying she wanted sibling time, but the visits always ended with her and Daniel talking for hours while I awkwardly hovered nearby. I tried to rationalize it, convincing myself that I was being paranoid. I didn't want to be the jealous, insecure wife. Everything came crashing down during Thanksgiving. Emily was hosting that year at her lavish home. My parents were ecstatic about another chance to show off their golden child success. Daniel and I arrived early as always, helped set the table while Emily and Daniel laughed together in the living room. Even then, I told myself to let it go, to stop reading into things that probably weren't true. Dinner started off. Normally we chatted and exchanged polite pleasantries. Then as dessert was served, Emily stood up and said she had an announcement. "I just want to take a moment to say how thankful I am this year," she began, her voice steady but brimming with emotion. "I'm thankful for my health, my success, and most of all for the little miracle I'm carrying." The room went silent. My mother's face lit up with joy. "You're pregnant," she exclaimed. "Oh, Emily. That's so wonderful, but sorry, dear. May I ask who's the father?" Emily hesitated, glancing at Daniel. "I'm thankful," she continued, "to be carrying the child of the man I love." Her words felt like a knife to my chest. For a moment I thought I had misheard her. Surely she could mean it, but then her eyes met mine, and I knew my husband, my sister, the two people I loved most in the world, had betrayed me in the worst possible way. The hours and days that followed was a blur. Daniel admitted to the affair, saying it had started over a year ago. He claimed it wasn't planned, that they just connected on a level I couldn't understand. Emily, he said, understood him in ways I didn't. Even had the audacity to blame our infertility struggles, as if my inability to have children justified his infidelity. Emily, for her part, was unapologetic. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she said, "but love doesn't follow rules. We have so much in common. You should be happy. Daniel will become a father, which is what he always dreamed. If you can't keep a man away from his dreams, if you love him, you need to let him go and let him be happy and have what he really wants and needs in life." My parents, they took her side. They excused her behavior, saying yes, she made a mistake, but that I needed to move past it for the sake of the family. I filed for divorce immediately. My relationship with Emily was over, and my relationship with my parents was irreparably damaged. They welcomed Daniel into their lives as if nothing had happened, doting on Emily's pregnancy and preparing for the arrival of their grandchild. The divorce was one of the hardest things I've ever endured. I felt like I had lost everything in my marriage: my family, my sense of stability. The only person who stood by me was my best friend Mia. She let me crash on her couch when I couldn't face the empty house, listened to me cry night after night, and helped me rebuild my life one step at a time. Over the years, Mia became my family. She was there for me in ways my own. Never was I rewrote my will to leave everything to her, my house, my savings and everything else I had. Mia had been my rock and I wanted to make sure I repay her for all the support and love she gave me. Meanwhile, Emily gave birth to a baby girl. Lily married Daniel and seems to have an even more perfect life than ever. But then a tragic event happened a few years later. After I divorced Daniel, Emily passed away in a car accident. It was tragic, especially for Lily, who was now left without a mother. I was heartbroken as well. At the end, she was my sister, and I loved her. Despite what she did to me, I've attended her funeral and gave support for my parents and Daniel, as despite everything it was a horrible tragedy not long after Emily's death. Daniel reached out to me. For the first time in years he called me directly. "I need your help," he said, his voice trembling. "Lily needs a mother and you're her aunt. Your family." I was floored. This was the child born from the affair that destroyed my marriage. I told him no. Immediately I couldn't take on the responsibility of raising Lily, not after everything that had happened. But Daniel wasn't the only one making demands. My parents called me too, insisting that it was my duty as Lily's aunt and relative to step up. They said I need to take care of Lily financially as well. Yes, my sister left a big company, but her company was based on her own personal brand and without her it's worth very little. So I told my parents that I will not take motherly nor financial responsibility for Lily. I informed them that they need to know that I have a will and everything will be left to my best friend after I'm gone. My parents were livid. "You're being vindictive," my father said. "Is your family? She deserves your estate and you leaving it to a stranger." I stood my ground. My assets are mine to decide what to do with, and Mia earned her place in my will by being the one person who supported me when no one else did. I tell my parents that if they were so concerned about Lily's future they could step up and provide for her. Now they've launched a smear campaign against me among extended family, painting me as the heartless aunt who abandoned an innocent child. Some relatives have reached out urging me to reconsider. While I feel for Lily, she's an innocent child, I can't bring myself to take on this role. I've sacrificed so much. My marriage, my mental health, my trust in family. Why should I be expected to give up even more for a child born out of betrayal? I'm trying to protect my peace, and yet I'm being painted as the villain. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for refusing to be a mother to my ex-husband's affair child and leaving my inheritance to my best friend instead? First of all, Lily is not OP's responsibility. Yes, it's tragic what happened to her mother, but it's also tragic what happened to OP and how her closest people betrayed her. Lily is the product of that betrayal that tore OP's life apart, and while she's innocent in all of this doesn't mean OP is obligated to take on the role of her parent and have a constant reminder about the heartache she had to go through. That responsibility belongs to her father's ex-husband and OP's parents, who were so to defend Emily's actions back then. Also, OP's parents calling OP vindictive for leaving her estate to OP's best friend is absurd. Mia supported OP during the darkest times of her life while they sided with Emily and Daniel. OP doesn't owe anyone anything, least of all the people who betrayed her. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Honestly, I can't get over the audacity of your parents and ex-husband. They chose to protect Emily and Daniel. When they tore your life apart, they chose to excuse their affair and gaslight you into forgiving them now. They're conveniently rewriting history and expecting you to step up. The entitlement is insane. You're not a bad person for refusing to mother Lily. She's innocent, yes, but that doesn't erase what she represents, a betrayal so deep it changed your life forever. You have the right to protect your peace, and as for the will, it's your money. Mia deserves it for being there when no one else was. You've already given enough. Don't give in anymore. What blows my mind is the lack of accountability from everyone around. Your ex-husband cheated on your sister, betrayed you, and your parents enabled it. Yet somehow they expect you to clean up. The mess is absolutely not your parents projecting their guilt onto you. They failed to hold Emily and Daniel accountable when they should have, and now they're desperate to push the responsibility onto you to ease their own consciences. Don't let them manipulate you. And let's not forget your ex is the parent here. Why isn't anyone demanding that he step up and be a father? It's because they see you as the easiest target. Stand your ground. You're not the a-hole. My sister had a child early and her partner at the time decided to leave. I helped out a lot with the child and consider him my own. I told him if he did well in his classes I would send him to a private school. From a young age he seemed to have an affinity for sciences. At the age of 8 I decided to transfer him into a private school. He excels there, and I'm very happy. Right about after he moved in, she got married and had a stepdaughter. She's a nice kid and all, but I haven't been in touch with him because I recently had a child of my own. My sister called me up and said her stepdaughter would be turning 8 soon and wanted to go to a private school. She reminded me that I told her I would always help her children out. True, but never did I think she would assume I would be helping her stepchildren out. Those children aren't related to me. She's really upset because she knows I could afford it, but I personally am not out here to sponsor her stepkids, and I told her that the next thing I know her husband wants to have it with me, and this loser tried telling me the benefits of having a blended family and that I should want that too. This guy is as big of an idiot as they come in my opinion, and I told him I wouldn't be sponsoring his daughter, and he could do the best they can. I've just received a huge text, and she's to pull her nephew out of private school. I feel horrible and have no idea how to handle this. You offered to help her first kid because she was a single mom, not put all of her children through private school. If they want to send her to one, then daddy should foot the bill. She's her son's future to be petty. That's just up. She is to remove her son from a private school that you pay for in order to manipulate you into paying for her stepdaughter to go to a private school as well. Depends on the route you want to go, but I'd call her bluff. He wants you to blend his family by giving him $9,000 a year for the next 10 years. That'll make his family super close and blended. Then what, is he suddenly not going to be entitled? And will happily jump off the gravy train? No, of course not. Then you'll need to pay for higher education. Then his daughter will probably have a dream wedding, or need a house deposit, or maybe an extensive honeymoon in the Maldives. No, all those things that make a family blended. I'd put your sister on blast and advertise that she's willing to ruin her kid's future and his friendships, etc. Out of spite. Life isn't fair, and whilst she's married into that family, stepchild has no relation to you. Keep providing for your nephew, and if she does go through with it, make sure he knows what's happened and not that you suddenly decided to stop paying. Knocking one kid down doesn't build the other one up. Some background. My 28-year-old female husband, 27 male Chris, works for a construction company. His direct boss is a woman, 28 female Hannah, and their boss is Hannah's dad. A little over a year ago, I found out that Chris was cheating on me with Hannah. I found mountains of evidence on his computer and phone. There were text messages of him calling her his girlfriend, talking about how in love with each other they were there, photos of her, videos of them having sex, etc. They had been having a love affair behind my back for at least a year, likely longer. After reading the messages, it's clear that Hannah knew I existed, and that Chris and I had 2 daughters together. Chris hadn't told Hannah about my second pregnancy until close to the birth, but they, sharing the college fund, and drove off. He came back after a few hours and apologized, and then this afternoon after work brought up me helping his son with college again, which I shot down, and he got angry at me for it again. Not the a-hole. His son isn't entitled to the fund that you and your ex-husband is fun. Your ex-husband isn't doing that for him, he's doing it for his daughter. He could ask you to currently help his son out, but even then, if you say no, it's not fair for him to get mad. Not the a-hole, and draw a line in the sand. Make sure your husband knows that the money will never be going towards his son, and he should never ask again. Seriously, draw that line in the sand. I'm mad that he's already brought it up so many times. Good on you for standing your ground. If your husband won't listen to you, ex-husband, spill it out to him clear as day, because he put money into that too. I'm sure your ex would be livid, your daughter would be livid, and you need to be livid. This has nothing to do with loving your stepson. You can love him with all your heart and still not over your daughter. My coworker M and I found out that we are planning on wearing the same dress, same design, material and color, only the sizes differ, from our upcoming company Christmas party. The party is a big deal. The attire is black tie and over 500 people will attend. I bought my dress earlier this year when I saw it at a department store. I love the design and the fit is amazing on me, so I bought it. Even though I didn't know where I would wear it yet. Mem bought hers last month when she looked for dresses that fit the party's color motif. Mem asked if I could wear something else because she had limited dress options due to her being overweight. She said that dress is the perfect one for her. It's very forgiving and flattering for her figure, and she just wants to be noticed and feel beautiful for one night. She said that if I wore it, it would look better on me so people would give their attention to me. I'm not overweight, but I have my own flaws, and that dress is the one that I feel most beautiful in. I also don't want to spend another couple $100s to buy another dress when I already have one that I love, so I told him that I'm sorry, but I can't accommodate her request. I said that I think we should both wear the dress if it's what makes us feel beautiful. For me, it's not a contest, and people can find both of us beautiful in that dress. It's not like one of us will automatically be deemed, once the other one is deemed to look good in that dress. There are also hundreds of other women who will attend the party, and we don't know if one of them will also be wearing the same thing. M burst into tears and said that I don't know how it feels to be overweight, and I'm being selfish. She has given me the cold shoulder since then. It's not my intention to hurt her, but I don't think what I said is unreasonable. Not the a-hole. Everyone can wear whatever they want to the party as long as it fits the dress code of your coworker. Sounds like she is very sensitive about her weight, but her insecurities shouldn't be pushed onto you. All that matters is how that dress makes you feel. I hope you have a wonderful time at the party. Not the a-hole. She's insecure and was very happy to find a dress she feels gorgeous in. She asked if you could find something else, so she and other people wouldn't compare her in the dress to you in the dress. It wasn't an a-hole move for her to ask. Other hand, not your job to accommodate the request. It's a work party, not a party she's throwing or in her honor where you'd be more obligated to go buy a new dress. Would be very kind of you to do so, but you're not the a-hole for not wanting to find and buy another dress last minute right now. She's closer to being the a-hole for her continuing behavior, but I still don't think she's over the line, just upset and embarrassed. He and his ex have been divorced for 6 years. They have a 7-year-old daughter together. He spent every Christmas with him even after the divorce. We met in September 2020. He spent that Christmas with his ex and daughter. I was more than fine because we was just starting Christmas 2021. He spent it with his ex and their daughter. I was weirded out, but since we didn't actually live together, we moved in together March 2022. Yesterday he was asking me if I'm going to spend Christmas with my parents. Again, they live 9 hours away. I was like, excuse me. He was confused. I asked him if he thought it was okay to spend Christmas with his ex-wife, now that he has a live-in girlfriend. He said, what's that supposed to mean? We have a little kid together. I asked him if he thought all divorced parents spent Christmas together just because they have small children. He said, "This is their tradition, I'm packing my things now." Am I the a-hole for thinking my boyfriend shouldn't spend Christmas with his ex just because they share a child? You should have added in your post that your boyfriend is away for 4 days from December 23rd through December 26th. You should have also added that you are absolutely not invited to your boyfriend and his ex's Christmas party. You should also have included that your boyfriend and his ex has shared custody of the daughter and that she lives with you 50% of the time. No, you are not the a-hole. Under those premises, OP is not the a-hole. Keep packing if you're good enough to live with and care for his child when he has 50-50 custody. You should be good enough to spend holidays together. The fact that he plans to spend 3 to 4 days away at Christmas with his ex and exclude you is not weird. It's disrespectful. You're a maid, a babysitter, and someone he can have s with. Excluding you to that degree is very telling. It's not like he's just going over to the ex's house to open gifts and have brunch. It's for 4 days. I'd leave too.